Hello, everyone, and welcome to the podcast series of Circuit Digest. As we know, electronics and semiconductor business in India has grown in the past year, and several associations aim to make India the preferred destination for electronics, semiconductor design, and manufacturing. IESA is one of them and targets to grow the ESDM and electronic business segments in India. It acts as a trusted knowledge partner to the central and state governments, helping devise policies and incentives for the ESDM industry to help attract investments into India. To discuss more about IESA, we have Mr. K. Krishna Moorthy, President and CEO of IESA, with us. What are the first few things that you consider priorities as the new CEO for the association?
The first few things that I consider as priorities for me as a new CEO of the India Electronics and Semiconductor Association. Number one, establish very good relationships with all the major stakeholders, be it our members, the central government departments who are directly connected with electronics and the electronic system design and manufacturing industry, the state governments of various states who have major thrust programs for the ESDM industry, the MSMEs, the startups, who I personally believe will be the employment multiplier in the coming decade. So getting all these things uh, established and on an ongoing basis, follow up for various initiatives and programs that IESA would like to launch now will be the number one priority for me.
Could US anti-China strategy spearheaded by Trump administration help India to perk up its own semiconductor fab units?
Rather than talk about anti-China strategy, what India should look at from a semiconductor fab perspective is what is the best way for us to get a fab in India at the earliest. It's my, and also of course our industry's view that we are a little late to this. However, it is becoming very clear to all the policymakers as well as to the industry that electronics will become a priority sector, or already has become a priority sector, I would say, because after oil today, electronics is the number two importer in this country. And this is huge. We are talking about 200 plus billion dollars worth of electronics import happening to this country every year. Now there has to be a reversal that need to happen, and a semiconductor fab where we can build components ourselves is imperative for this to happen. So I would consider it as an India strategy rather than an anti any other country strategy. And I think the government of India is very seriously and seriously working to find a solution so that the fab gets established in this country at the earliest.
A month back, IESA chairman Mr. Rajiv Khushru stated that India is now targeting 100 fabless semiconductor companies. What are your views on this statement and how do you think it could be a reality?
IESA has been working very closely with Department of Electronics, Government of India, MeitY for the last many years in enabling and setting up fabless semiconductor companies. Actually, this is not new. We started this initiative a few years back, but we are now trying to give a huge thrust to this. And Government of India has already committed to bring out a policy for the fabless semiconductor ecosystem. How to develop it, how to grow it, how to sustain it, how to fund it. Every aspect of the fabless semiconductor ecosystem is being discussed at the highest levels, and suitable policies are being brought out. And the heartening thing is that many state governments have also understood the value of this, and some of the state governments are joining this initiative right earnestly to, to make it really grow in the country. We have a few fabulous semiconductor design companies in the country, but they are not enough. The number of diverse products that we need in electronics, which are spread over different domains using different technologies, process technologies, and device technologies, are so many in number that no one company or even a few companies can uh, get on top of it. So the only way for us to grow big in electronic self-reliance is to get the control of design. And when we want to get the control of design of an electronic product, naturally we need to have the semiconductors that go into a product designed and manufactured in this country. So connecting to what I said earlier about the fab being very seriously and vigorously being pursued by the government and the industry together to make it happen, we also need to have a design ecosystem which will feed into this fab developed concurrently. So that's the whole thrust of the 100 fabulous companies that we are aspiring to build. This requires a lot of planning. This requires the right ecosystem and infrastructure to be created, the right policies and right support, because semiconductor product take a little longer time for the product to be designed, fabricated, tested, qualified, and ready for volume production. India is a design powerhouse. That's why all the major semiconductor companies in the world have their design centers, huge design centers in this country. So it's a very well recognized, globally accepted fact that we are a design powerhouse today, catering to all the multinational companies. But a small percentage of that experienced manpower, if deployed or developed as a new set of people who can come and design products for the world. So we are not talking about these fabulous companies catering only to India product requirements. They will be designing for the world, and that's the best thing to happen. And that's why IESA is putting a lot of emphasis and a lot of energy and time to make fabulous semiconductors a reality. And in some way, it has already started in some states like Karnataka. It has got a program called SAFAL, where it's a semiconductor fabulous accelerator lab that has been created with government making some investments and industry joining hands to support it. And it has already started incubating a few design companies. Similarly, other state governments are also following the suit, but coming as a central government policy and with the right framework and structures is going to accelerate the fabulous development.
As per few studies, the semiconductor industry is still in state of production catastrophe, especially in the context of automobile and electronics industry. Can you kindly share some statistics or numbers about the demand supply mismatch in the Indian and international context?
Speaking about the semiconductor supply shortage that we are facing today, this is a natural phenomena that happened because of COVID-led uncertainties in the market. When the first wave of COVID struck, all the OEM product companies scaled down their manufacturing capacities because they expected the demand to drop, money supply was in short, and hence the semiconductors manufacturing companies also, uh, particularly the ODMs and OEMs, also started scaling down their requirements. But there was something that happened which uh, I don't think any planners had provided for. People started working after a few weeks of shutdown. People started working from home, and this led to a large demand in consumer electronic products like the laptops, the phones, the routers, all kinds of communication equipments, and this resulted in the the semiconductor manufacturing entities, the fabs in the world, diverting their capacity more and more for consumer electronics. But when the first wave ended and the demand came back, it came back in all segments. And then it became a capacity allocation in the fab. So we are in a situation where the supply is not able to meet the demand because the demand suddenly came back pretty sharply, which was not planned or provided for by the OEMs, ODMs, as well as the semiconductor manufacturing. entities. So this problem, in my opinion, probably will last another 2 or 3 quarters. And every company where they're solved are increasing capacity for semiconductor manufacturing, so product assemblies. They are doing everything possible. No stone is left unturned to solve the problem, but the backlog that is there today may take a couple of quarters before normalcy returns. And in the Indian context, also this demand supply mismatch is very much there. It's a fallout of the international phenomena. There is nothing that is India specific in this, but the effort by all the suppliers, distributors to meet the demand is very focused. They are doing everything possible, but then there is a 25 to 30% capacity uh, availability shortage, not capacity, but availability shortage today, which will take a couple of quarters before it all becomes normal. Thank you.
That's it. I'm done with all my questions. Thank you so much, Mr. Moorthy, for your time and answering all our questions. With this, I, Lakshita, will conclude this podcast and meet you in another exciting one very soon.